Yeah, yeah. Coming up next on the Mental Health Matters with Marty show, mental health. What's the hype and what's the reality? Stay tuned. What's up, everybody? You know what time it is. It's your boy, it's Marty Sellers, and I am your mental health hygienist coming to you live and in living color all the way from Southern California, where the sun, you know what I say, is always shining. It's so good to be here, guys. Listen, we're getting a little bit of cooler weather. We're not in the triple digits, and listen, the wind is blowing just a little bit, but listen, it's good to be alive and on here. I want you to share this. Come on, get everybody in here. We got some great stuff. Auntie, how you doing? Yes, come on, invite everyone. Tell the family to get on. Tell your friend, tell your enemies, tell your road dog, tell your homegirl. It's about to go down. And we're talking about today, mental health, the hype and the reality. You know how we do here on the Mental Health Matters with Marty show. Why? Because we want to stop the stinking thinking and so that you don't have to continue to secretly suffer in silence in the shadow of shame. But you know how I say it. We want you to speak up, speak out, and live. So listen, as you all know, this show is intended for educational purposes only. And we want to remind you that we are not a substitute for your mental health and wellness. Let me say that again. We are not a substitute for your mental health and wellness, but we are a supplement for you to get better. What do I mean by we're a supplement? We want you to see your therapist and watch our show. We want you to see your therapist and listen to the podcast. We want you to see your therapist and buy the merchandise so that you can wear your t-shirt that I am enough. We want you to see your therapist, your life coach, everyone else. So we are not a substitute. We don't want you to say, well, I watch the Mental Health Matters with Marty show, so I don't have to see my therapist. That's a lie. We want you to see your therapist and put this as part of your treatment plan for you to get better so you can be healthy, wealthy, and in charge. So again, but if you're experiencing any type of medical or mental health crisis, please go to your nearest urgent care or dial 911. Yes. Listen, we are so glad that you are here. Hope all is doing what you are doing well. And here's how you stay engaged with us. Listen, we have changed our format a little bit. And if you want us to read your comments, please jump on the Mental Health Matters with Marty Facebook page and engage with us that way. If you're still on my personal page or the Marcel Consulting, listen, switch over. Just do that little step. Come on over to the Mental Health Matters with Marty page or Marcel Media group, and then on YouTube, so that we can see your comments. We can only see your comments if you're on the Mental Health Matters with Marty page and the YouTube page, Marcel Media Group. That's how we're seeing it. So some of you have said, you're ignoring me. I am not ignoring you. Listen, the only way we see those comments now is through those two pages, and we want to hear you. We want to see you. We want to make sure that you are heard because we have an amazing conversation today that we want you to be a part of. So please check out those, and then you will see how to get engaged with us, and we will see your comments with that. So today's topic, jealous. Portia, hello, darling. How are you? Listen, this is what we do in Southern California. You know how it is. You've been to my office. Come on, palm trees swaying. Yes, we're getting our mental health. LaDon, how are you, my brother? Hope you are doing well out there in Michigan. Yes. Listen, invite people to join us. Now, let's talk about it. Can we talk about it? Can we talk? Yes, we can. Is it all just a hype? We've been hearing about mental health. Pamela, who loves you, darling? You know I got nothing but love for you back. Yes, missing you. Hope X-Man and the family's doing well. Is it just a hype? What's the reality and what's the hype about it? Paula, you know I can't go without talking to you. Hope you're doing well. Happy anniversary, Paula. You know we love you. Happy anniversary to you and your amazing husband. And you know we got nothing but love for you and your family. And definitely you have some college students going off to college. Join us tomorrow for the doctor show because we're going to be talking about sex and STDs on the college campuses. But anyway, back to tonight's show. Y'all got me all excited because I feel like I haven't seen you guys or anything. Is it just a hype? Mental health, hype versus reality. The hype is this. It's all over the media. It's everywhere. We've been talking about mental health, but here's the reality of it. Now we have to do the work. Many of us like the hype, but most of us don't like the work. Many of us like saying, oh, I need a mental health day, but most of us don't like to do the work in order to sustain that we are doing the work to make sure that we are making sure that our talk is matching our walk. What's our walk? How to remain sane in the midst of an insane world. That's the talk and the walk we have to do. So the hype of it versus the reality of it. Listen, yes, we are so glad that we are having mental health conversations finally in our communities. What's up, Joseph? But we have to do more than just talk about it. We have to be about it. We need to normalize mental health in our Black and brown communities. And let me go one more step farther. We have to normalize mental health for Black men. Come on, I'm going to say it one more time for those of you who are sitting at the back of the Hollywood Bowl and you can't hardly hear us real good, although Hollywood Bowl has amazing sound. Listen, for those of you sitting in the back of the balcony and the speaker is broken and cracked, I want you to hear me once again. We have to normalize mental health for the Black man. We have to normalize mental health for our brown brothers as well. We have to normalize mental health for our Black brothers and sisters. Why? Because it's so important. They just not cray-cray. They got a problem. And we got to deal with the mental health issues and challenges that face and affect our communities. We can no longer point the finger, but it's necessary that we get the proper help with the right people, not Ray and them, not the street pharmaceutical guy. We need some folks that's done the walk, that's done the talk, that's done the schooling, that has a proper education, that's not just going to tell you, well, if I were you, we not caring about if you or me. You are not me. You don't know what I'm going through, and I need a professional. Come on and touch your neighbor and say professional. The work is real. Yes, it is, Pamela. The work is real. I now ask my patient what they're going to say. I say, listen, if you're coming to see me, don't waste my time if you're not ready to do the work. And I'm not going down on my prices. Listen, you don't ask the dope man, you don't ask the prostitute, you don't ask the alcohol man or anything else. You don't ask them at the strip club or anything else. Can they lower their prices? No. So don't ask me. Don't insult me like that. Now, if you need some assistance, I'm going to connect you to the right resources. But listen, bring me my money so I can help you out. Listen, stop your weed smoking, stop getting your hair did and them fake nails and them long eyelashes, and go pay your therapist and your life coach. Touch your neighbor and say amen. You know I'm talking now. Come on. But I'm so glad that I'm not doing this show by myself because y'all don't want to listen to me no more. I'm so glad to have with us. Yes, I know you're right, Portia. Come on now. Come on. I'm so glad that I have amazing guests with us. This is his first time on the Mental Health Matters with Marty show. But let me tell you, this brother, it is not going to be his last time. We just connected like we've been friends forever. Now, he went to Michigan. I'm not going to hold that against him. Me being from Ohio, God bless him, but, we love him all the same. And all that. Coming from the DMV, I got all these cats coming from DMV. Come on, from DC. I might need to do a visit out there, but I'm so glad to have this brother with me. None other. Let's give him a warm welcome, and y'all welcome him to this show. None other than Bernard Owens. What's up, Bernard?
Hello, Marty. How are you, brother? Good to
I'm
see you,
doing well, man. Good seeing you too. Listen, you out there glowing. Is that DC sun giving you, this California love out there?
Man, that's just a result of meditation and a little exercise and a lot of M&M peanuts, peanut M&Ms. So,
now, since you're talking about, do you put your M&M peanuts in your popcorn when you go to the movies? That salty sweet thing.
I put the bag in the freezer, and then when I get in bed to watch Netflix, I put the bag next to me on the pillow next to me and just keep eating out of it. So that's part of a 3-point plan for restoration. Exercise, meditation, and frozen peanut M&Ms. So it's all about balance.
I love it. That's what I love that, man. Listen, for this is your first time on the show, man. I'm so excited because we just connected like we were road dogs forever. And I appreciate you. And I love the 3-part plan. See, yes, welcome to the party. See, my people love you. Listen, Paula, everyone needs a Paula in their life. Paula knows everybody. And she's well connected with that. But Bernard, tell the people who you are, what you do, and why this passion that you have for mental health.
Well, I am a graduate of Michigan State University. My name is Bernard Owens. I am from Detroit, Michigan, and I am wearing, I don't know if y'all can see, it's a little dark, but I'm wearing my green, go white. Marty, I'm sorry to disappoint you, from Ohio.
It's blue and gold.
Oh, yeah.
You see Berkeley, my brother.
Oh, okay. All right. But I'm a graduate of Michigan State, and I also attended Emory University and have a master in divinity. And right now I am a clinical worker in a clinical mental health setting here in the DMV, and I work in crisis stabilization. So I am familiar with the tenets of mental health and what it takes to be well and all of those things. So I'm glad to be here so we can get right into it and talk about it. Specifically for our community, which is so important right now.
It is. Okay, so Cordell Photography is telling on you. They said you like the frozen sweets.
I do. Like I said, it's all about balance.
It's all about balance. Okay, LaDon, just because Bernard is out there from Detroit did not mean he gonna be on your side, my brother. With as a native of Ohio, Michigan was a major rivalry with us. It was about the big O, round in the ends and high in the middle. But
yeah. Well, as they say in mental health circles, with regard to you in Ohio, relapse is part of recovery. So you'll be okay. You just need some professional help. That's all.
Hey, listen, you'll be all right. I saw my therapist last Friday, so I'm okay. I got another week out, so I'm cool for 2 weeks. But Bernard, talk to us about this whole topic. We talk about hyper reality. Is it just a hype? And I love your passion for mental health. What was your journey? What brought you into this, especially having a master's in divinity? We have that in common, minus theological studies. But what was this passion to really explore and go down this mental health road? Because I think there's a wonderful blending of theology and psychology. Talk to me about your journey in psychology.
Right. So it's been a journey of experience, not just academics. I'm gonna give it to you straight with no chaser. I feel like our audience can respond to that. I come from a background of parental dysfunction, trauma, generational trauma. So I think around 12 years old, I had my first suicide attempt where I overdosed on sleeping pills. And from there, relocated to Michigan to live with my dad's parents and got more stable, but the childhood depression was never dealt with. So that showed up again, I think, when I was in college around 21, and that would be the second
Yes.
time that I tried to take my own life. And so when you ask me
Hmm.
what brings me to mental health, it's experience and it's academia. It's
Yeah.
not just the technical know-how that you study when you study
Yeah.
pastoral care and counseling, or any of the
Hmm.
degrees I have. Those are great, but when I meet with my
Right.
clients, I want them to know that I am not just talking the talk. I've been there and can empathize with a lot of what they're going through, and I want them to know that recovery is possible. I'm living testimony
Yes.
to that.
Come
So
on. Come on.
that's what it's about, man. Just letting people know that there is hope, there is possibility. You just have to do some work. You just have to do some work, and so that's
Wow.
what we're here today to talk about, like how you access
I
that,
love that.
and what that entails.
Man, I appreciate your transparency. I know you and I have talked offline, but I appreciate your transparency in telling that
Hmm.
because, but Bernard, people don't realize, when we're looking at, I had a friend of mine just on Sunday text. I was in the middle of service and he just texted that his friend just um, I hate to, you hate the word successful suicide, but that's are we? I know California. We're trying to come up with another terminology, a completed suicide, because we don't want to ever think that suicide is successful, but just committed
Hmm.
suicide and left his wife and three teenage girls, and for
Hmm.
many of us, so we're talking about black men. There's this pressure that is constantly coming up, and that we often think in those suicidal attempts, whether it's an attempt or ideation, because there's a lot of us who have had suicide ideations and said, what would
Hmm.
happen if, or would my life be better if I just ended it here? I've lost a client to suicide. Young
Hmm.
man,
Hmm.
Richard would probably be 25 now, where he took a
Hmm.
bus from Southern California and took a 10, 11-hour bus ride to jump off the Golden Gate Bridge. Very
Hmm.
intentional, very, very intentional in that. But why is this so difficult, would you say, for black men, we as a community, to address and deal with child? Can we start here? Because you're right, childhood traumas that
Hmm.
have occurred.
Hmm.
I had some childhood trauma myself growing up in a domestic violent household, 16
Hmm.
years of that, and yet we
Hmm.
don't address it. What are some of our challenges that we face as a community when it comes to not dealing with childhood traumas?
I think normalization. Some of the barriers
Mm,
that I've experienced personally, and some of the barriers I've been, from my clients have shared with me,
right.
particularly for men of color and black women
Hmm.
too. There's this expectation that you be strong, that you live up to an
Right.
archetype that is almost impossible to live up to, right? So I think
Right.
some access to that for us as black men and as black women is to start to normalize conversations around feelings,
Yes.
emotions, how to manage those things, and the awareness. Right. I know that in
Yes.
the current community conversation right now, you hear things when you watch television, like terms like
Yes.
triggered and stressors,
Yes.
and
Yes.
and those things, mental health terms that were basically used by us a few years back only by
Right.
clinicians and professionals.
Right.
So I am glad that those conversations are slowly moving
Our
into the
communities.
world today.
Yes.
But
Yes.
I think we just need to normalize more awareness that it's okay to seek out assistance, and it doesn't make you weak.
Hmm.
It actually makes you stronger to be there for the people that love you by taking care of yourself.
Yes.
Uh,
Yeah.
you know.
It's so important. And I appreciate that you're saying that, because we have normalized our trauma. We have normalized and not having those conversations. Oh, he all right. Oh, she's all right. They just tripping right now. No, I'm crying out because I have pain. And I'm crying
Hmm.
out because I need some help. But you talked about barriers in our communities, and especially in DC, LA, Atlanta, Texas and Dallas and Houston, New York, Chicago, some of our big urban communities. What are some of the common barriers that you see, as I'm seeing too, when it comes to mental health awareness, and we were talking about earlier, access?
I think some of the barriers that we as black men in particular face are barriers within ourselves,
Mm-hmm.
within our family systems, and then societally.
Mm-hmm. Mm.
You may be in a relationship where the idea of you expressing your emotions or crying, or being
Right.
upset or being hurt or expressing those things is not okay to a partner that you may have.
Right.
And
Right.
I understand that, and my theory is it's an offshoot of what we've experienced: slavery, Jim Crow, and all of those things
Right.
from
Right.
behind
I
us and
totally
generations
agree.
behind us, where in order to survive, you have to get up, brush off, and move on, but the trauma is not dealt with. So that's why in the
Right.
current generations, we're dealing with that stuff now, because in a way, Marty, I don't know if you agree or not, but in a way, our generation and the generations after us have the, this might not be the right word, but the luxury, or I want to say the ability to think about those things, where, you know,
Hmm.
maybe our parents didn't even have that ability to think about that, because I've got to go to
Right.
work. I may hate this job, but I have a family to take care
Right.
of, and I don't
Right.
have the ability or luxury to try to figure out what has me drinking every day after work, or has me
Hmm.
doing drugs every day,
Mm.
or
That's good.
has me
That's good.
coping with grief and other stressors. So the trauma
Yes.
has always been there, pain has always been there. We're human beings. I just think now there's
Right.
a dawning of awareness and acceptance that you can manage those things other than self-medicating. But I think
Wow.
the notion of that needs to be moved forward even more.
Most
You
definitely.
know, marijuana is legal in many of the metropolitan areas that you named, and you know, have nothing against marijuana, but we want to be careful and cognizant if you're using alcohol or marijuana as
A
as a
crutch.
way to relax, or a
Hmm.
crutch, as opposed to
Hmm.
dealing with the things, dealing with those underlying issues. And you know,
Hmm.
if you need to relax sometimes, but not using that as a situation, those substances as situations to manage
Yes.
life just to get through it. Because there is another level of happiness and relaxation that can be achieved without substances, or substances as an aid occasionally. But that's an important
Yes.
distinction, because I feel like maybe a lot of folks are self-medicating now, and there are other ways to manage emotions.
Most definitely, most definitely. Listen, engage with us. Please engage. Listen, we have this amazing clinician on here, Bernard Owens, out of the DMV area, and he is definitely bringing us some truth and knowledge as we are discussing some of the barriers that we have. What are some of the barriers that you all have faced? Please share with us some of your barriers that you have had, and maybe even some of the stigma. Because Bernard, I think we have a lot of stigma still as it pertains to mental health. It's like, you know, the first thing I had a couple call me today after we did intake, did their first intake last week, and they were on the verge of divorce. Now, it was quite obvious. I ain't one to gossip. There were some problems in the marriage,
Right.
but the husband would much rather go through a painful divorce and separate, as opposed to trying to come to, he's like, I'm not doing therapy, I'm not doing it, I'm not crazy. I'm like, I'm not calling you crazy, we all have challenges, and so why can't we do this together? But he much rather go through the pain of a divorce than do the work that is necessary for our mental health and wellness of our families, and what that might look like, and help to eradicate some of the, and I love what you said, some of the generational barriers that we've had, some of the problems that we have. But maybe if we start dealing with the root cause of the problem, we can definitely help
Mhm.
to make our families better than what they were, and even work on ourselves. And a lot of us are too afraid to deal with ourselves because I've just come to, I'm convinced that many of us don't like who we are. And so we're
Mhm.
dependent on, I'm dependent upon you, Bernard, to make me feel better. And I'm dependent upon
Mhm.
you to make me like myself, because I don't like myself in that regard. So if you like me, then I have to be doing better, as opposed to say, you know what, I like myself with that. Joseph says, I'm still working through the pain and trauma of the past. I
Mhm.
feel like
Mhm.
my mental issues are improving by the grace of God. I totally agree with you, Joseph. What would you say to address even that one? And then I want to go back to Ladon's. He says, alcohol was my go-to to deal with my trauma issues. Man, listen, you got to meet this brother, Ladon. He's a walking miracle. Now, this brother had a stroke and drove himself to work. Now, we won't even talk
Yeah.
about that. Yeah,
Wow.
but
Yeah.
how would you talk respond to Joseph and even Ladon as well?
You know, I am so glad that you and I were able to connect, because some of the things you term yourself a mental health hygienist, and I
Uh huh.
love that term. I love that term specifically because when we think about mental health, we think about working through trauma and working on issues and being happier with ourselves and with life and with
Right.
others. It starts with you. And I want people to know, I definitely share with my clients that it's not a one-stop shop. And I liken it
That's
to
right.
auto maintenance or going to the gym or a healthy lifestyle. It's an ongoing thing, but it becomes easier the
Yes.
more that you do it. And you also level
Yes.
up. The more exercise you do,
Come on.
you level up to do better and better. So it's not a thing where you would become frustrated because you have to work
That's
on yourself.
good.
Each step takes you to another level, and it's exciting. It's exciting to learn the things that you didn't know that you didn't know. And that's what I feel like we need to be talking about. Sometimes I think someone chimed in about using alcohol as a coping mechanism.
Right.
You know what? That is what it is. And when I work with my clients, make sure that they know that there's no judgment about whatever they're using to cope with life, but I also open the possibility that there may be a better way. Um,
Hmm.
I don't want to say a healthier way because that puts judgment and says what they're doing is unhealthy, but a different way to achieve what it is that you're
Oh,
trying
you're
to
so
achieve,
polite.
well, it was helpful to me. It was helpful
Okay.
for me in my own journey because what I
Okay.
feel like is that someone could have said or made me feel like, okay, you're depressed, you're suicidal, so now that's the label that you wear. And a diagnosis is
Right.
just that. Not a diagnosis is not for you to become the diagnosis. It's
Come
not for you to
on.
become the suicidal person. It's not for you to become the
Come
depressed
on.
person. It's to create an awareness of those things so that you can level up and do better. That's all. That's all it is.
That, thank you. I say that all the time. Listen, says, what about the reality of you having your trauma and engaging with others that not only have their own, but incapable of handling their own, much less a help to you? Ooh, ooh.
Now let me
You
say
know,
something.
please say
Can I
something.
address that?
Please address that.
As my grandmother would say, worry about you. Worry about you.
Ah, come on. Come on.
Worry about you. Worry about you. So when you worry about yourself and working through your own issues, yes, you care for other people and they may have trauma that could be affecting the symbiosis of the relationship between the two of you. But what I do know from my own experience is when I started to work on Bernard Owens, my relationships with other people started to transform.
Oh,
You
that's
can't
so good.
change them. You can change you.
Right.
And when you work on you, transformation is possible with other people. So if you focus on yourself,
Come on.
and that's not meant to shade to whoever made the
It's
comment,
not.
but it's just the reality. And from my own experience, when I started to work on Bernard and stop trying to fix Susan and Bernard Senior and Naomi, these are all my parents and grandparents, and stop trying to
Right, right.
make them who I want them to be. Working on myself, it's
Yes.
amazing. It's amazing, Marty. The relationships transform. The relationships
That's right.
transform when you do the work on you.
You
Period.
can only be responsible for yourself. It says it is easier for me to be a martyr and ignore my own pain. But because I believe, Pam, we've been conditioned because of a cultural experiences. And can I say this too, Bernard? I might get
Mm,
in trouble, but I don't care. We've also have a wrong understanding of the gospel for those who
hmm
are call themselves Christians. So we say, "Ooh,
Right.
I'm suffering for Christ." Now, Christ, I understand suffering for Christ, but I'll suffer for Christ's sake, but I'm not going to suffer for ninja's sake. And then you fill in the
Mm,
blank with the ninjas.
hmm hmm
Ooh, worry about you. It is true. We have to first. Only person you are responsible for as an adult is yourself. Now, if you have children, I understand that, but we're talking about this relationship. I can only be responsible for myself, how I act, and how I react towards such situations in
hmm
life. And so
hmm
I can't,
hmm
as much as I love you, my brother, I cannot be responsible for your healing. And we have to be careful of trauma bonding as well. I was
hmm
telling
hmm
a patient today, I said, now, homie, you just got out of a situation, so you need to be careful. Well, I got some. I said, no. We're not going to do this trauma bonding for every time. And he's now holding the phone for 4 and 5 hours while he's at work. I said, no, that's not healthy. You got some
mm,
trauma bonding going on here. Let's detach from that and let's heal ourselves first, so that we can then begin to because as you're in this unhealthy mind, you're looking at this person from a traumatic point of view, and so you're
Mhm.
connecting on the wrong basis, on the negative and not the positive.
And I'll say also about, with regard to worry about you, I want people to know that it's okay to give yourself permission to care about yourself.
Yes,
You can
come
give
on,
yourself
it's
that permission, because if you're waiting for a partner or a parent or somebody else to give you the
yes.
permission to look into therapy or to decrease your weight or whatever it is you know in your heart that you want to do for yourself in order to be better, you can't wait for that permission, but you can silently, quietly give that permission
Come
to
on.
yourself and move into it. You know,
I love that.
that's my.
I want to address self advocacy, but I want to address Jonathan. Daryl, can you put Jonathan's says how do you unpack the layers of trauma and unhealthy societal conditionings with your therapist? At times, it can be unclear with the consumer and therapist on how to unpack strategically as well as methodology. That part, one's experience a little tongue tied today. Talk to me, Bernard. Talk to me,
Get
Jonathan.
yourself a
Good to see
therapist
you,
who.
my brother.
Hey, Jonathan, thank you for that question. It's a beautiful question. Get
It
yourself a
is.
therapist who understands you. Now, each of us connects with somebody on different levels
Yes.
based on our past experiences. But for myself, it was helpful for me to find another gay, black, understanding therapist.
Uh huh. Uh huh.
Because there's
Uh
a
huh.
conversation that therapist and I can have as a gay black man myself,
Uh huh.
that we can have, and it doesn't need to be. I don't have to explain to you. I don't have to explain to you what collard greens are because you
Right. Come
understand
on.
my cultural
Come on.
context. So, and
Right.
that's different for everybody. You know, if you're a woman and you feel like it would be, I'm just saying, connect with the therapist that you feel like would understand you based on whatever it is that resonates
Yeah.
with you. Like I truly believe that with black folks, we have a language with each other of nonverbal and verbal communication that
We ain't
you
got to
don't have to
explain.
explain. You don't have to explain.
Yes.
So it takes all of that out of the way. So when you talk about how do you unpack let's see what you got here. I don't have my glasses on, brother, but it says the unhealthy
Look,
societal
you
conditioning
want to borrow
with your
mine?
therapist. I got some readers over here somewhere, 50 years old here. But in
Come
all
on,
seriousness,
50.
find some, find somebody who understands your
Yeah.
cultural context. And that doesn't have to necessarily be another
Someone
black
who's black.
person. That
Yeah.
Yeah, but somebody who's understanding and sensitive to the conversation and concerns that you bring to the table. There's a
Yes.
lot going on, and that's why this conversation about black men and mental health is important because there's a lot going on in the world today. George Floyd and Black Lives Matters and all of the things that we are
Yes.
being bombarded with
Yes.
through media and through conversations and all of the stuff that's going on politically, which I'm gonna refrain from going into too much detail with. But
You all
there's an
right?
understanding and awareness that we as black men don't have any value.
Yes.
That's a conversation. That's not necessarily a conversation that we're having, but it feels like it may or may not be true, but it feels like an outside conversation that's being had about us. So I'm here to let
Yes.
us know that we need
Uh
to be
oh.
taking care of ourselves, to
Hmm.
insulate ourselves, to fortify ourselves and for our families and for our loved ones and for our allies so that we
Hmm.
can exist on this planet as human beings and actualize our true selves as opposed to buying into what the other thinks and says about us, which is just not true. But if you let it, that it'll sweep over you that we don't
Yes.
have any value and a list of things that I could go on about with regard to us as people of color in this country.
And I think this is a great transition into Cordell had said it earlier about self advocacy. We have to advocate for ourselves. Why is that
Hmm.
so crucial today that we advocate for? If you don't have a therapist who understands, like Jonathan was saying, who does not understand your cultural relevancy, who doesn't understand the societal things that's happening, that does not understand the microaggressions that are coming at you, why is it so important that we learn how? Hear me when I say this, people, how to advocate for ourselves, for our own mental, spiritual, physical health and wellness. Why is that important, Bernard?
Well, let me say this: self advocacy is a muscle that you use
Mm,
and you strengthen and you strengthen and you strengthen. The more you use it, coming from a trauma background myself, where early age with the depression, where self esteem and self worth were low, I
right.
had to grow into that. I had a conversation with a new physician just yesterday, who
Uh huh.
I come from an old school grandmother raised me. If the doctor says something, that's what it is. And I
Right.
disagreed with her on that. And to this day, I hold that. If something doesn't sound right to me, it doesn't matter if the doctor is saying it or President Obama, I'm going to challenge it critically
Right.
and
Right.
and professionally. But self
Right.
advocacy is you knowing intuitively that something ain't right. I hear what you're saying, but
Right.
something ain't right, and it doesn't sit with my soul. So that's the one
Right.
piece because you know it when you hear it inside your soul and your head and your
Yeah.
heart. But now the flexing of the muscle is speaking it,
Oh,
and
come
knowing
on.
that it's
Come
okay for
on.
you to speak it. With my instance with the doctor yesterday, I just let him know, like, I'm not sure what the barrier is here, but it may be cultural, but I don't agree with your assessment of what we're talking about.
I
And
love that.
and there's a little bit of a friction, but my position is I've got health insurance and I've got options. So
Oh, come on.
if we can't get together on what I need for myself with regard to my care,
Right.
you go your way and I'll go mine, and I'll
May,
find
look,
another
may
physician
the
and you'll
Lord
find another
watch
client.
between me and thee while we absent from one another.
Peace be with
Hallelujah
you.
in
But the
Jesus.
larger part of that is, again, what I mentioned before about permission
Yeah.
to know that that's okay to do that, particularly if you're conditioned like I was by older parents who,
Yeah.
were what the doctor says goes. So you have to know that that what it is you're feeling and thinking intuitively, it's okay to speak on that. It's not okay to
Okay.
speak any old way on that, but to think
Right.
critically and constructively about how can I move this conversation forward with regard to what's going to be best for me,
Yes.
and at the same time get this person to hear what I need to say. When you talk
I
about self
love that.
advocacy, you talk about permission to self and listening to
Yes.
intuition. So,
But most of us have questioned ourselves because when we live in those doubts constantly, we second guess ourselves. And when you've been told you're no good and you're worthless and all that, it's hard to advocate for yourself because we begin to
hmm
believe the stinking thinking that other people put
hmm
in us. And so learning how to advocate for us, because I think the struggle that we have, and then I'm going to go to a comment that was made earlier. The struggle that we have is that we have not known how to advocate for ourselves. Because historically, can we just go right here, Bernard? Historically, the medical field, historically, the mental health field, historically, the police, historically, teachers, historically, bosses, historically,
hmm
the lynching industry have not treated us fairly. And it's
hmm
difficult for us to advocate for ourselves. Thank you. Yes, working the muscles to gain and live life
hmm
mentally and physically in all areas. Jonathan, you're absolutely right. I know I wrote that down. Self advocacy is a muscle and leveling up. Yes, yes.
hmm
That thinking is poisonous. You're absolutely right, Pam. It is. And we allow that venom to now saturate, come on, our soul and our thinking till
hmm
now we don't even know what the reality of our mental health is because we're so much on the other stuff till we have now the blue pill or the red pill. We've swallowed
hmm
the wrong pill.
And that's the importance of therapy, right? Because you get to learn
Yes.
techniques to do self inventory. So if you're feeling something or if you're having an intuitive thought about something, now you have the tools and the technology to discern,
Yes.
is this because this is what it really is, or is this because of past trauma? So
Yes.
when we talk about therapy, it's important to note that it's not just sitting with someone talking. That is part of it, but it's also gaining skills and techniques that you can use when you're not sitting and talking to that professional so that you can use them outside in the world to make your life better. So it's kind of like, in many ways, therapy is kind of like taking a class or going to school. It's all about
It
learning
is.
tools and techniques, to make things better for yourself.
It is. One of my patients today, she was just going, Marty, I just kept hearing you in my head. I kept hearing you in my head. And with that, I got the strength because I didn't see her for about a month due to just
Yeah.
conflict of schedule. She goes, but I was able to hear you in my head. And I kept saying, what would Marty say? What would he encourage me to do in this moment? What tools
Right.
has he already given me? And that is the best. I was just smiling, talking about, that's right, girl. You got this. You got this. Let's put back up Joseph's comment, Daryl, so we can just, if that's just us. Because of growing up in a broken home in Los Angeles by two, he says, bad parents, I found myself always struggling with anger, deep pain, rejection, and abandonment issues. Because of all my past and present problems, I feel like I've wasted so much time. Today, I feel stuck in my unresolved issues. Bernard, how many of us, especially as Black men,
Right.
feel and have felt that way? And I want to
Well, I
say
can
there's
tell
so
you
many of us
that,
who are currently feel that way. Go ahead.
right. I want to say to the person that wrote that, I appreciate what it is that he's saying. I will tell you from
Hmm.
my own experience, if
Hmm.
you come from a traumatic past with parents who you feel may not have been at their best for you, that may or may not
Right,
be their assessment of how they raised you, but I would encourage
right.
you to take a moment, if you can, if you have access to them, to learn
Right.
their story. And now that's going to be a lesson in mouth closedness. And what I mean by
Ooh,
that is learning their story, but keeping your mouth and keeping your conversation inner conversation to a minimum while they are
minimum.
telling you what their life has been about. Because I'll tell you, once you understand what bad parents have been through, it will transform your relationship with them and
Mm-hmm.
change your life. Now, they're not going to change, but they may or may not change. But you having a
Mm-hmm.
better understanding of what
Mm-hmm.
had them behave the way that they behaved will provide you with some freedom. And Marty, my book will be out this winter around Christmas time, and in that I talk about the transformation of my relationship with my mother and my father. My mother now is
Love
in
it.
nursing home care and is now communicative in many ways, but I can
Okay.
be there and be present for her because those issues were
Right.
resolved years ago. So if you have the opportunity, once I heard my mother's story, changed my life. Changed my life. And we had lived in public housing and experienced poverty. And,
Right.
I was pissed off about that. I wasn't very happy about those
Sure.
things. But once
Sure.
I heard her story, it provided a freedom that nothing else can give you. If you just take the time to
Wow.
listen to their story, you know, that would
And
be my
that's
suggestion
the
as a
difficult
start.
piece. Yes, as I love it as a start because I love how you said it's a practice and discipline of um, um, refraining and quieting yourself and really having an open mind. Now you don't have to agree with what they say, but at least giving you a different perspective with that. Now I'm doing a selfish plug on here when you do your book launch and all that. With that, I want to host your virtual release party. Okay, so with that being said, you got that, Darren. We booking gigs on the show now. We booking gigs.
But you're the people that are chiming in into the discussion. God bless them. These are wonderful, wonderful
Hmm.
points that they're making.
Awesome. Yeah.
Particularly with regard to healing parental relationships, right? Because
Yes.
there's an understanding and awareness. So again, with therapy, you can develop the tools to quiet your mind and have these conversations with
Love
these people
that.
that may have traumatized you. And so again, therapy is about freeing you. And not
Hmm.
necessarily my own mother taught me this from the trauma that she experienced from her father.
Wow.
Forgiveness is for you. Forgiveness is for
Yes,
you.
it is.
When you are able to forgive yourself for what it is that you've been through, you can move forward. It's not about absolving people who have done you wrong, but about freeing up
Right.
yourself. And that was
Yes.
critical for me as well.
I,
Finding
I love that
and giving myself permission to forgive.
because now you're opening up your hand to say, listen, I release you from all the hurt. And I'm going to start with a
Right?
clean slate for me.
Yeah.
So by releasing them, it allows now your hand to be open to receive the blessings that
And
will
it's not
come your way.
absolving them for whatever it is that they may
No,
have
it's
not done.
definitely not.
I want to be clear about that. I want to
Yes.
be clear about that. It's not absolving them for what they have done. It's about you freeing yourself by saying, like just like you said with the open hand, I'm gonna let this go, and I'm not letting it go
Hmm.
because for you, I'm letting it go for me. Now, if you get something out of it, that's cool, but this is about me. And so again, what we talked about when we first started this conversation, therapy is about you. You,
It
you, you.
is.
That's the
Yes,
biggest takeaway from this discussion tonight. It's giving yourself permission
it is.
and knowing that it's about you.
Yes, yes. I love Cordell's comment real quick there again, Daryl, that he puts in there. And I love it because this is so true. It says anger going unchecked and ignored will only lead to constant personal failures. That's so true because there's and anger for especially for black men is, and you would I'm sure agree with me, is one of the symptomologies of depression.
Hmm.
that we,
Yeah.
and so many of us have been misdiagnosed. Hear me when I say this, y'all.
Hmm.
Misdiagnosed
Hmm.
as ODD, oppositional defiant, when actually we're
Hmm.
depressed, and that the anger
Hmm.
is just an outward of the thing that we've been holding on inward, because we're not releasing it. We're
Hmm.
not
And
releasing it, causing.
the real tee hee hee, as Vivica Spock said in one of her movies, is that anger is a funny thing, right? Because it can be expressed outward, but it can also be expressed inward. So you've got all this anger that you haven't been able to deal with, and you're using maladaptive techniques to
Come on.
move your way through the world. Anger is a funny thing. So when you deal with that, again, those another step towards freedom, because you think that you're just angry at other people in the world who are pissing you off, but really some of that gets
Right.
internalized, and you start to do self-destructive things,
Yes.
that,
But
that
it
that
also
don't
comes
advance
out
you and help you
physically.
actualize.
You're right. It comes
Yeah.
out physically, and I want to go, but I want you to see Pamela's comment. But it comes out in high blood pressure. It comes out in diabetes. It comes out with so many other things that do affect us, because we have not released all of that pent up anger and hurt and
Hmm.
depression in that.
Hmm.
I love this.
You'll
Thank
have to
you.
read that to me. I can't see the whole thing. What
Oh,
was it?
Bernard
Yeah.
says, if not reading other stories helps. When you don't agree is when you know you should be quiet. It's therapeutic. So she's actually agreeing with what you're saying.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
she's
Yeah.
really interested. Says, when you don't agree, also, is that a key time for you to kind of just go,
Yeah, I've termed a phrase for that. It's called giving up the right to be right. So and
ooh,
what I mean by that is, like, you and I
ooh,
can have a discussion about whether I should live in California or not, and you may be right that the weather. If I say to myself, you know what, that works for you, but I'm going to give up the right that I'm just going to give it up. I'm giving up my right to be
mm-hmm,
right, and let you have that.
mm-hmm,
Let you have that opinion, and let me
mm-hmm,
have my opinion, and we go our.
mm-hmm,
We just agree to disagree on that. And so,
mm-hmm,
if you can give up the right, you may be right, but it's the
mm-hmm.
conflict of trying to just push and pull of us proving
Right.
to the other person that we're right. I think it has, it's in the air of the day. Blue states, red states, it's all out there. Like, it's a fight for who is right. And if you can give up that, you
The
have the
right
right
to
to be
be
right,
right.
but right behind that is freedom. The right to be right, but right behind that is
Yes.
freedom when you give that up. So,
Yes.
yeah.
Yes. That Pamela says she likes that. She likes that. That's right.
Hmm.
Y'all, I told you, Bernard is the bomb. Y'all, listen, he's going to definitely be back on here. Y'all, so listen, Bernard's like, am I? Wait a minute. Yes. Because what you're saying is so practical, and that's all therapy is. Therapy is very practical, and finding those tools that works for you. Every tool is not going to work
Hmm.
for every
Hmm.
person,
Hmm.
but you find those tools, you find those lessons that work for you, that speak, like Jonathan was saying earlier, that speaks to your personality, that speaks to who you are. Says Jonathan, thank you, Jonathan. He says, I love your perspective and your thinking. Yes, that's right. That's right. Because what you're doing here is showing us. My parents are gone, so I read to work through the layers. Thank you, Pamela, for sharing with that. So she talked about how she had to read to work through the layers of her own with that as well. Thank you, Pamela, for sharing that with
Wow,
us.
that's such an
And
important topic,
isn't it?
important point too. Yeah, I like to let people know, particularly my own patients, if when I talk about healing parental relationships, sometimes the parent is gone or absent or they never knew the parent.
Hmm.
But that doesn't change the fact that the relationship goes on, whether the other human being is in your life or still alive or not. The relationship is
Yes.
continued because you have feelings and thoughts about that.
Ooh.
So, for me, what was helpful is writing a letter. Writing a letter and
Yes.
and acknowledging that the relationship was still ongoing for me, and some of what occurred when the other person was around was damaging, and just acknowledging those feelings and accepting them for what they are.
Yeah, I agree with you. My colleague Danny Ross always says it this way. He always challenges me. He says, "Marty, when are you going to have some radical acceptance that your parents were not and are not perfect?" And I had to come to grips with that. Because the sooner you kind of come to grips with that, the better you're going to be able to then begin to heal yourself. The radical
Yeah.
acceptance was this, you know. your radical acceptance that your father for 16 years did do this and this to the family and your mother.
Right. Right.
However, but what is the radical acceptance? So I had to balance those things out and come to my own decision about how I was going to love my father. Even
Mm-hmm.
before he died, and so we got
Yeah.
so much clarity, and most of my family don't know that he and I had a very, very powerful discussion and talk right before he passed away, where I had
Mm-hmm.
cleared the air, and he needed it for himself. And I'm like, Dad, let me tell you something. I forgave you so many years ago because I needed to free myself.
Right.
And so
There you
he was
go.
holding on to that, thinking I hadn't forgiven him. I'm like, man, I forgave you so many years ago. I needed to do that for my own healing because
Mm-hmm.
there were certain patterns and certain things I did not want to repeat. And so now
Mm-hmm.
I'm able to, for some of the first times in my lives, in my late 40s and 50s, say this character trait I love about my father. This one I'm choosing to allow it to die.
Mm-hmm.
But and then do that in so many ways, and it's so freeing. I love it. Pamela says, "I am
Wow.
reading a radical awakening." Had to share that. Thank you, Pamela. Yes, yes, yes.
You
So
know
so
what,
that's what.
Marty?
Go ahead.
Can I just point out that what you just talked about with regard to your father is so important. Like when we think about forgiveness of parents and past
Uh
trauma,
huh.
you forgiving your father, even though he may not have known it the whole time, is critically important because you are now raising children of your own. So for you to work through
Yes.
that stuff has a practical component where it helps you so that you can raise the kids that you have so that they don't have to
Hmm.
experience that same trauma that could
Hmm.
potentially flow through you to them. So I want people to
Right.
understand that, therapy is about you, but there's a practical component that makes other people's lives better. It can be an offshoot of the
Yes.
work that you do on yourself. So
Yes. Yes, especially when we're talking about when we are now mentors and we're parents and we're godparents and we're aunts and uncles and those older cousins, and how much we affect so many other people.
right,
And so I
right,
just want to say it's so important that we get our own minds together, because we don't know how many people we are affecting or how many lives we
right,
can change by them
right.
seeing a healthy version of us as opposed to a
Yeah,
depressed or anxious version of us as well.
yeah.
Wow, wow. Okay, before the time is almost up. See, that's why you got to come back. We just scratching the surface.
What is it?
See,
Wow, wow,
it
that was
almost is.
fast. Okay.
But I want to hit something that you talked about. We talked about, because I don't want us to pull back the band-aid without offering resources and access to resources, because I think it's so important. Is it for those who might be uninsured, or those whose maybe insurance plan doesn't cover what they want? How do we go about to get mental health assistance in today? And it is more simple than what a lot of people think. What do you advise to your clients and patients, and how do we make mental health more accessible to our community?
There are every geographic region, particularly
Hmm.
larger metropolitan areas, have resources available to folks, but it's a matter of seeking out those resources. If you're
Yes.
uninsured, there are ways to access services. If you're having a critical incident and you call non-emergency police, they can get you connected to
Right.
mental health services in your area,
Yes.
provide you with, which is what I do. I provide crisis stabilization to many of my clients are uninsured. I work for a municipality,
Wow.
and then once they're stabilized and no longer suicidal, or they're stable on the medications that they need to function, they are then connected to affordable mental health care in the area that they live in. So I don't want people to think that not having money or insurance should
Right.
keep you from even looking
Be a
into getting
barrier.
help, because that's not true. There are things
Yes.
out there that can, and resources available. And I know that you and I are going to get together and put a list together, that
Yes.
people can see, in a general sense. And there's also, if you're having a critical incident, there are suicide prevention lines and things like that. A quick Google search would
Most definitely.
provide you with the things in your area. But it really is like the first step. When you take that first step, it moves you on to things that you didn't even know were possible. And I know we didn't really get
Yeah.
to it today, but a lot of clients come in with pray it away, and that's great. I believe that
Yes.
prayer is a wonderful resource
Yes,
for
sir.
people who are suffering. But you can also, in a more practical sense, break your leg and pray that it doesn't hurt you every night until it heals. Or you can keep
To the
praying and go
doctor.
see a doctor and get a cast so I feel like for those of us who are spiritual, we can use mental health as a component to
Yes.
bolster and fortify our experience and fortify and move the healing forward. So
Yes.
maybe one day we can have a discussion about
I
religion
love
and
that.
spirituality. Yeah.
Oh yes, oh yes, because I'm going to put prayer on your treatment plan. You can pray, but I still want you to do this work as well. So that's one of
Right.
the portions of the treatment plan. Man, listen. Thank you so, Bernard. I can't thank you enough, man, for joining us. How can our viewers follow you on your social media outlets?
Okay. So for Instagram, you can follow me there. It is B Ascend. So BASCENDS. I may have spelled Ascends wrong, but it's B Ascends. Or I haven't had dinner yet. Here's my dinner waiting for me on the table. Or you can
Oh,
find me on Facebook, Bernard Owens on Facebook. And I just want to
love
say
it.
thank you, Marty, for having me on. And blessings to everybody out there who may be struggling with mental health issues. Resources and help are available to you. It is up to you to give yourself permission to take the first steps to try to get treatment and help. You don't even have to tell anybody. Just do it. You don't even have to share it with
Thank you.
anybody
You
else.
don't.
Hmm.
Wow, Bernard, thank you, man. Listen, this can't be the last time. So don't think you're gonna get rid of me that fast. I'll let good folk get away from me too often. So listen, we stuck, my brother. We stuck.
I
I
appreciate you, man. I appreciate you. You've
appreciate
been a
you
blessing to me, man.
likewise.
Thank you. Yeah.
Likewise. Listen, y'all, thank you so much for joining us on this edition of Mental Health Matters with Marty as we talk about the hype and reality of it all. Listen, I cannot thank Bernard Owens enough as he's been so transparent. It is so important that we are responsible and that we advocate and take care of ourselves. If you learn nothing else tonight, learn that you have to advocate for yourself. So, again, listen, please check out our website. I want you to please check out our website. Our website is mentalhealthmarty.com. On there, you will find lots of great merchandise and two things we're promoting this month. Please check out our journal, Stop the Stinking Thinking Journal, where you can write down all those amazing positive affirmations and write down those things so you have something to refer back to. And as you're doing your treatment plan and finding those things, it is available on the website. And our latest t-shirt that we're so excited about, Black Mental Health Matters. In other words, Black men matter. We want you to get this because it's so important that we send the message, and sometimes we need a reminder with that. So yes, hashtag your mental health matters. So we're so excited about that. Also, please check out our podcast. And if you are a Apple listener, please give us a 5-star rating and leave a review. But also you can download and listen to our podcast on any of your favorite podcast streaming. We're about to do some amazing things coming up. So listen, check it out. We got some great content on there. And become an iMatter of Mental Health Matters with Marty by texting iMatter to 855-717-1272. So we are so glad again that you are joining us in this amazing journey. Oh yes, thank you, Daryl. And also this coming Friday is our Young Men's Mentor Group. We're meeting on Friday, August 20th. If you're in the Southern California region, please give us a call. Hit my website up, mentalhealthmarty.com. We have had an amazing time. Last month, I had to kick these young men out at 11 p.m. I said, listen, y'all, I'm old and I'm tired. You ain't got to go, but you got to get the hell up out of my office. But we had a great time. We did. And I'm so proud of this mentor group that we have for these young men in their 20s as we're sharing through some of life challenges and helping them mentor their way and navigate by making healthy choices in their lives. And we're talking about these these very same issues that Bernard and I have been talking about tonight. So please, 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 please register, because you can't just show up. We won't let you in if you have not pre-registered. So don't show up thinking on the 20th, I'm going to just show up, because it will not happen. You're going to be locked downstairs and upstairs as well. But again, I cannot thank you enough for joining us for this edition of Mental Health Matters with Marty as we reviewed the hype. But in this journey called life, we don't want you to secretly suffer in the shadow of shame. But as I say each week, we want you to speak up, speak out, and live so that you can enjoy your life. See you next time.
Enjoy your life.